Onimusha Warlords. My favorite game of all time. My favorite franchise series. This game is pretty good. I always liked it since first came out on the PS2. Got remastered a while ago. To see it come back was pretty cool. To see it on a modern console, purchasable, available for download digitally. It's like, wow, they brought Onimusha back. Is it Onimusha or Onimusha? I don't know. But this is one of the most nostalgic games I can think of. And to see it come back was just great. First time I saw it was one of my cousins was playing it on the PS2 a long time ago. This is still when I was like pretty young. I don't think I had my own PS2 at the time, but because there was like a house of gamers, all my cousins, and there was a lot of them. They all kind of, they're all very different. They all play kind of their own, they all have their own system, they all play their own games, but they play each other's stuff as well, sure. But it was one of my cousins and her boyfriend at the time, and it was in, the PS2 was in their room. And I loved all of them equally. I enjoyed hanging out with every single one of them, and they all had their own taste and style, and it really was kind of inspiring and a part of my gaming personality, I suppose. But yeah, it was just cool because, you know, there's no lights on. I will never forget it too, and I just see this ancient feudal Japan. I was already so interested in animation or anime as it was. Ninja Scroll, all kinds of stuff around that time. But it's just everything hit me when I saw this game being played. I might have played it myself a little bit, I don't really remember, but just the sounds, the atmosphere, the camera angles, the characters, the enemies, the ambience, the cutscenes. I was just so drawn to it, and I didn't know why. It was just kind of one of those things that were just meant to be, I guess. And one thing that really stood out to me too is the souls. The blue, the pink, the yellow, really bright little floaty souls that you absorb, and they're all over the screen. Everywhere you go, every enemy you kill, there's souls. And it's just really colorful and vibrant compared to like the color palette of the rendered backgrounds, and they're really bright and vibrant and stood out to me. But it was also when I noticed you could see literally this exact same things on the PS2 home screen. There's little souls flying around everywhere. I don't know if that was coincidence or what. I'm sure they're not technically related, right? But I'm not even sure if I know there was a version for Xbox of this, but I'm pretty sure it was mainly PlayStation, which isn't surprising, right? But I don't know, to me it was like kind of the face of PS2. It was like, sure, you had Ratchet and Clank, you had all these mascots, PlayStation mascots at the time, but I think Onimusha was really one of those games that it just screamed Sony and PlayStation, and it just goes right to it. It's demons, gore, bloody, violent freaking swords, demons. It's too perfect. And what they do it so well. This is why I love Capcom. I loved Onimusha way before I loved Resident Evil. And this is why Capcom is my favorite studio, is because of this game. When they finally brought it back to modern consoles, it was like $20 at the time. I was like, bro, are you kidding me? I mean, to be fair, with it being remastered, it really didn't look that much different to me back then, playing it on the PS2 on like a big TV, and I think it could have came out better. It's still very aged. You can definitely see a noticeable difference, obviously, but like, in my eyes though, it's still the same Onimusha that I played all those years ago. And obviously I played 2 and 3 and tried out Blade Warriors, and I remember actually playing this at some family friend's house. I don't remember if I brought over my PS2 or if it was already there, but I remember it was just a game that never really went away from me. Like, it was always kind of there. Like, no matter where I went, no matter how I had it myself or whatever, playing all the games. There was also the 4th one, but I don't really like the 4th one. And there was like a movie for that one as well, that they legitimately took like all the cutscenes and made it into a whole movie that you could find on like YouTube or some sort of streaming site. It kind of comes and goes. It's not like a movie, but the fact that it got to that point where it did turn into that was kind of cool. I mean, what else? I've tried to go into, you know, Facebook pages, Onimusha. I don't remember if this came out before or after, but for a little while there, it did go out of my way to try to be like, hey, where is Onimusha at, dude? Re-release it for modern consoles, please. I want to play it again. I don't want to get a PS2 and play the old version and deal with all that bullshit. Let me repurchase this game, redistribute it, do something. And here we go, we got it. Granted, it's only the first game, but I was really hoping, this has been out for a while, I was really hoping that, you know, this game would have gotten enough support and made such a comeback to where they would have re-released 2 and 3 as well. Where's 2 and 3? You know, forget 4, just give us the first 3. I don't know if it's gonna take a while, I don't know if they're ever gonna do it. I unfortunately don't think this game got enough credit to pump more out. I think it tried. I think it was like, hey, let's bring back Onimusha, see how it does. I really don't know. I didn't do too much research on it, unfortunately, but you know, the sad thing is Capcom is so focused on Resident Evil. Zombies, dude, get that shit out of here, you know? Like, I'm so fucking tired of Resident Evil. Bring back Onimusha, please, for God's sake. You know, who doesn't like zombies and stuff, right? But this is like, dude, Japan, it's so cultural. You got Nobunaga, Samanosuke, you got Jubei in the other games. You got Jacques and Paris in the 3rd game. You got so much going on for this series. It's so well done. This deserves so much more credit than Resident Evil does, but obviously Resident Evil is more people can relate to it. This is more like, hey, you have to like this, you have to like Japan, you have to like history, you have to like culture, you have to like blood, you have to like... Not as many people are gonna like this game, so it's just very a lot more underrated. It's the underdog of the Capcom lineup. It's so comparable to Resident Evil in its own way, because like, hey, Capcom does a lot of games, but this and Resident Evil are so close to each other. They're both bloody, they both look gorgeous, awesome cutscenes, around the same time that they were kind of all out, really making a mark for itself, putting themselves out there. The pre-rendered backgrounds, they're so comparable, and that's where I think this game, sadly enough, kind of flopped. I just couldn't compete with Resident Evil. And it's frustrating for someone like me because I love both games. But obviously, if I had to choose one that I liked more, it would be Onimusha, hands down. The cutscenes look amazing.
Nobunaga has finally engaged the enemy.
There's the intro, there's regular cutscenes, like just talking in-game graphics, but there's a lot of really well done, very graphical, cinematic cutscenes throughout the game. And it's a Japanese game. A lot of Japanese games do that. There'll be like 2 or 3 different kinds of cutscenes or ways that they're trying to portray their story and what they're doing. But god, they look so good, especially remastered, especially if you're playing on next gen. When I booted this up again recently, I was like, you know, the game does look pretty good. Granted, it's still aged a lot. The voice acting, some of the graphics. Granted, the only thing that probably held up the most was the CGI cutscenes. But you still get that arcadey feel out of it. It still feels, it's the exact same game, just slightly better, like this much. And you know, when it came out, it wasn't full price. It was cheap. I think it was for the fans that really wanted to just play again and not go too out of the way to do it, and just enjoy the modern technology at hand. And you know, I definitely got my fix. I played it 2 or 3 times. I could beat this game in like a few hours maybe. You know, if you know what you're doing and you've played it enough, it's a very good speedrunning game. I'm sure there's been plenty of speedruns of this. I'm not really into those myself, but you know, just like Resident Evil, it's just what Capcom is good at, is creating these really well-made big games that can be done very quickly. But that just goes to show that I think that's when you know that it's a good game, is when it doesn't drag on too long. It's short, it's sweet, it's like a little nice piece of cheesecake or something. It's very rich, but it's very, you know, comes in a small package. You know, it's not all about the size. But I mean, if you were to play this for your first time, you know, it's gonna take a couple days, right? I don't know. But yeah, unfortunately, when this game came back out, I think it was more of like, obviously the Onimusha community would have hopped on that immediately. I didn't even know it was coming out. When I saw it available to purchase, I was like, what? I didn't even realize it was like it was a thing. And the game is so good. I want to play the others. I'd like to do more with this game. I don't know what really more I can do with it. I mean, dude, how long has Onimusha been out? Right? A long time. But yeah, I really hope that Capcom can find it in their heart and to re-release the other games. I mean, it's not, no one's asking for a remake. That would be great. If you want to do that, go ahead. Dude, just give us the rest of the games. This was such a tease. It was like, I like Warlords, but honestly, it's like the bottom of my list. I'd go 3, 2, 1. You know, not even counting the other ones, but because it's like, sure, I like all of them equally, but I just feel like I've played more of 3. There's just better quality of life, better gameplay, better graphics. Because this one, as classic as it is, it's still very, it's rough. Which if you like it enough, you're not really gonna care, right? Like, that's just how kind of these games go. But Yeah, I don't know. It's just great. I love the community. I love when you can go into a stream or you know a comment section or something, and there's a lot of other people that love this game as much as me as I do, and that's really nice to see that it's not just me, and it may not be the rest of the world, but it's just enough of people where the game's getting supported. It's getting love. Granted, I think it does take the right kind of people to show it that love and to get it the exposure that it needs and to do it justice. You know, play this every single day. Make videos on it, like, you know, really bring this game back to life, because I think it's time. I'm an adult now, and I'm not a kid anymore, and I want to enjoy this series to the best of my ability today, in today's world, and this modern day and age. And as much as it was nice to get this, it was like, it just wasn't enough. It's not Onimusha without all of them. It's not the same without all the games. Because it's a holy trinity, it's a trilogy, it's a series, it's a franchise, a brand. You know, Onimusha Warlords alone, I just don't think it could stand on its own 2 feet just with Warlords today. That's the problem. Back then, oh yeah, no problem. They kept making more. There's a reason why they got sequels. It's because the game did so well, or else they wouldn't have done it. Period. So then you take that same concept and take that into consideration today and be like, well, okay, well, if it wasn't a problem then, why wouldn't it be why is it a problem now? We're not asking for a 5th game. We're not asking for a remake, like I said. We're not... I think Capcom knows, it's just they don't care. I mean, what does it take? I gotta write them fan letters? Like, what are you really gonna... Are you gonna make me bend over backwards to get more Onimusha? Like, what do you want me to do? You know, I'm one guy. I'm trying here. I'm trying to show everything love. I'm trying to play everything. Yes, Onimusha is my favorite, but I gotta realize that there's other games out there. There's other things to do. There's life. There's... If I had it my way, dude, I'd go to Capcom headquarters right now and their studio and be like, please remake this game, dude. I would be standing outside their freaking studio, dude. Just like holding the game up to their window, dude. Maybe holding it out like a boombox. Please help. Because as many games as I've played and am playing, and I will never love anything like Onimusha. I will never look at anything quite the same at all. Even Neo, which is basically today's Onimusha, right? I still can't even look at Neo the same way. It's very close and similar in its own way, sure, but like it doesn't do it for me. It doesn't get my fix of like everything that started to get me into Japanese culture and Japan and anime as a whole, just the whole thing. Ninjas, samurai, you know, demons, and just how gory it all is, and the slashing, the swords, the weapons. The music is great. The music in these games are awesome. It's a shame that, like, I think a lot of games get a lot of love and they come back out, they do their thing, they do their job, they're taken care of. Especially when you're thinking of some sort of just trilogy, right? But here it's like I think they're kind of getting the short end of the stick here, and it's not fair. There's so much potential here. You got everything you need. You can take all the crap you get today, scrap that, bring this back out for real. This is back to the basics, back to the roots. I want new people to experience this. I want old people to come back to this. It's not even me being a boomer at this point, dude. This game's not that old. We're not talking like 80s or something, right? Like, dude. And maybe that's the problem. I don't know. It's like, I think the industry itself is just trying to do so much with so many different things, and there's been so many IPs throughout time that maybe it's unmanageable. I don't really know what the deal is. I know there's a lot that goes into these things. You know, and it may not be easy for it to be done. It costs money, it costs time, I get it. Just want more of it, that's all. Gameplay is super fun. I could spend hours just slashing demons, all the different bosses, going to all the different areas, doing all the different things, watching all the different cutscenes. It's just so cool, it's so good, everything's so well drawn and designed, the enemy design is so cool, and just how evil everything is, and dark and grim and destructive and just really disturbing. Like, I think when something is trying to represent kind of that very demonic side of Japanese culture, all the demons, you know, kind of like the bad stuff. As great of a country as it is, there's, you know, evil shit out there, and this game does so well at kind of really representing that, pushing it out there. Like, this is the pinnacle of what we get. I think in Neo, even, it's like, as great as they did with that and as similar as it is, I really don't think they didn't cover the whole, like, you know, yes, those were bad demons, but it was so stylistic, it was so, like, fancy, it was so, Neo is trying too hard. And I think here it's like, they really didn't try to fuck with you. They just gave you what you wanted, what you expect, and I mean, granted, there's a difference between like modern stuff, the way things are portrayed like this. There's a difference between like 90s, early 2000s stuff. It always has that dark undertone and that very, you know, very grungy, gritty atmosphere and color palette, and everything's just, it just made more sense. I think when something is so dark, you can use your eyes and everything to kind of, to really see it the way it is, and to shine some light there and to really understand it. And nowadays it's like everything's so bright and colorful and blah blah blah. You don't really get to like use your imagination or use your creativity to kind of expand upon it or see it through your own eyes the way you're maybe supposed to, or that it was originally intended, or, you know, it was just a darker time back then. Like, even when this game came out, throughout the years up until now, up until this game got released, it was a very, you know, technology, lights, like things weren't as in your face. And when you play this game and you turn off all the lights, you're literally back, you're going back in time. Like, it's so cool. And it's not too old either. It's not like Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil, right? Jesus, you got 2, 3 as well. You know, I want, Onimusha originally came out on the PS2. Right off the bat, it looked better, it played better, it was better. It took everything that Resident Evil isn't. It took the love that Resident Evil got and really put it in its own category, and it did its own thing. You know, even Neo, it's too compared to like Souls-like. Like, fuck Dark Souls and shit, man. Get that shit out of here. Yeah. I think, like, dude, if I just stick to some, I would call this a Resident Evil, like, I know it doesn't sound as cool, but like, if I were to be biased and support something as much as I see those games get supported over there, I would definitely put it towards Capcom, towards their games, towards Onimusha and Resident Evil specifically. More so Onimusha. Dude, we've been getting Resident Evil love. They're coming out with the new game soon. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Dude, we just got Resident Evil 8. There's been Resident Evil 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remakes of 2 and 3. And now 4. There's been, you know, Umbrella Corps. There's been Operation Raccoon City. Code Veronica, spin-offs, Resident Evil 0. Dude, chill with Resident Evil, for God's sake, man. Resident Evil 7 came out in VR. You know, there's that Outbreak kind of thing that's related to it somehow. I don't know. It's like, bro, what the hell, man? Haven't we played enough zombie crap? It does get kind of old, you gotta admit, as much as they make each of their games different. We don't get a lot of this stuff. We don't get a lot of samurai slashing feudal Japan stuff. Like, we do, but they're so out there and they're so random and they're kind of hidden and you really gotta go out of your way to find them, and unfortunately that's kind of where this game fell under. You know, as many of these things as there are, they're not really exactly... Obviously, Neo is probably the most recent one that really kind of brought whatever this is back, this whole genre of what this is. And granted, there's Sekiro as well, but I don't even want to talk about that. I don't really look at that quite the same. Similar, yes. But no, I'm sorry. it's different. That's all I can say. That's all I'm gonna say. Granted, if you're really fixing to play something like this, those are games to play available right now. They look great. They play great. I haven't played Sekiro. I've played Neo. I still gotta play Neo 2. Yeah, these are just some comparisons to, like, you know, games like this. But even with that said, Onimusha is the king. Onimusha is the god here. The alpha, the omega. This is how it started. Granted, back then there was what, Ninja Gaiden. I never played that either. Doesn't look awful. But once again, that's kind of like a Souls-like kind of... It's just not for me. The only ninja game I played was Shinobi. And I think, you know, that was my ninja game and this is my samurai game. But unfortunately, I played like Shinobi one time. I thought it looked cool, but I didn't really like it, you know. I didn't like it nearly as much as this, obviously. But yeah, Onimusha is just... It's so good. The story is, you know, generic, but it's so cut and clear and straight to the point, straightforward. I love the adventure, the quest, the journey. I love the experience. You know, I don't have a lot of great things to say about a lot of games. I have some good things to say about a lot of games, but I don't have anything nearly as top tier to say about any game like I do Onimusha. It's my baby, it's my golden child, it's my thing. And it always will be, and there's nothing that can change that. And you know, I unfortunately don't really attach myself to a lot of stuff too much. But this is kind of that one exception where I have such a deep love for it and a deep connection. This is who I am. I wish I could be Samanosuke. I want to be the hero. I want to be the protagonist in this game so bad. I wish I could fill his shoes and do what he does, and I just appreciate and respect him so much. He's the savior. He's a good guy. I like his attitude. I like his personality. The things that he's been through, the things he's had to do, and he's grown so powerful throughout the years, and he's done so much, and you know, it's a story and a legend that I think will never really die and go away. And I hope this game does better and better and better. I want to see it grow and live on, not just put away in some glass shelf like some games do. Fortunately, that's how some things do go, and it just makes me sad. But I love Onimusha. Greatest game of all time. Onimusha Warlords.